My name is Julie Boyd, and this is a tutorial on choosing a needle for conductive thread. I'm often asked which needle to use with conductive thread. The simplest answer really is any needle that you can get the thread into. The difficulty is that the conductive thread generally frays very easily and is quite thick. Therefore, some people do find it very hard to thread the needles. There are lots of different types of needles, and each type comes in a range of sizes. The easiest ones to use are embroidery needles, and they're sometimes known as crewel needles, or chenille needles or darning needles. All of these have sharp points on the end, and they also have large long eyes, which make threading the needle easier to do. The size of the needle you use will depend really on personal preference, about how large you want the eye to be to help you to thread it. Don't forget though that the larger the eye of the needle, the larger the needle itself actually is, and the bigger the holes you're going to get in your fabric. The chenille needle that I have here has the biggest eye, and so is the easiest to thread if you do find that very difficult. Don't mistake these for tapestry needles. They are similar, but the chenille needle has a point on the end rather than being blunt, and you will need a sharp point, in order to stitch into the fabric. I've got a size 22 chenille needle here, which is quite fine, even though the eye of the needle is quite large. Just be aware that some sizes of chenille needles can be very big and very thick, which is great in terms of needle threading, but it does leave a large hole in your fabric. The second needle is a darning needle. These tend to be long, and that's useful if you find holding a needle quite fiddly. The needle is a size 1, and that means that the eye is shorter than the chenille, but the same as the embroidery size 1 needle that we're going to look at in a moment. The difference between the embroidery needle and the darner needle in the size 1 is that the needle itself is longer. The last 3 needles are embroidery needles, and they're also known as crewel needles. Here we've got sizes 1, 3 and 5, and there are needle sizes in between those as well. The larger eye in the needles here is the size 1, with the eye on the 5 being smaller. I personally like to use the size 5 because I do like a needle that's not quite so bulky and feels a little bit smaller, but that is quite difficult to thread, so you may find it easier to use a size 1 or a 2 or a 3. Thanks for watching this tutorial. Subscribe to my YouTube channel to receive new tutorials as they are uploaded. Visit the website julieboyd.co.uk for all things D&T, especially textiles, and that includes free resources, a weekly D&T newsletter and course information.